Do our words build up or do they tear down? Do they encourage or do they discourage? Our words can help persuade others to persevere and can even stimulate a person towards personal development and growth. Today we'll be discussing why words matter and the impact of encouragement with my guest, director of Girls Rock Camp and of Rochester, New York, Ms. Casey Smith, and also Rochester, New York singer-songwriter Amanda Stone. This is Afternoon Cocktail episode 35. I'm your host, Amanda Ashley. Thank you for tuning in. And may I introduce to you my friend, Miss Amanda Stone. Amanda, how are you? I think we lost her. Got her? There you are.
There you are. I had to unmute. Sorry about that.
How are you?
I'm doing good. And yourself?
I'm good. Thanks, Amanda, for being on the show. So what are you going to perform for us?
So I'm going to start out with a song that's actually not on either album. It's a newer tune. I have a wonderful group of guys that play with me, the BBE, and I wrote this song shortly after the second album was completed. And I brought it to the guys, and they all kind of added their own flair and stuff to it, which I was very excited for. But this is just the piano part and vocal, obviously, and it's called Wasted Heart. So I hope you guys enjoy it. My poor wasted heart, torn out and ripped apart. I never knew you could be so cruel.
Amanda, I love it. So lovely. Beautiful song. So tell us a little bit about you. I mean, what was it like growing up as Amanda Stone?
Oh, it was so fun. I grew up in a really small town, but musically, I started off in chorus in school and choir in church, and started kind of doing plays and stuff when I got to the age of doing that. But I was always doing the national anthem at the football games and the basketball games, and always doing the talent shows and community theater. So I've always sang. It's always been a part of me. I started piano also when I was 7. If you can't, I'm at a piano. If you can't tell, it's down here. But I started that as well. So I've always just loved music. It's always been in my life, and decided after school. Well, actually, in school, I went to Eastman for a couple years doing their public program, and then when I graduated high school, I wanted to pursue it. Just loved it, so I went to college for it, and been classically trained and have a bachelor's in vocal performance. And I had so many opportunities, even with college. I started with Nick and the Nice Guys, and I got my feet wet there, and I've performed with East Coast Connection, and I've performed with Twilight and Silver Arrow Band, and I've had so many wonderful experiences and so many wonderful musicians I've been able to play with. So, life is good as me, I guess.
That sounds pretty good to me too. So, did anybody else in your family also play music or piano or sing?
Nobody else in my family is musical, which is really odd. But my mom, this is all about encouragement, but my mother in particular always encouraged me. She could tell that I loved to do it, and she's the one that got me voice lessons, and she's the one that kind of started the ball rolling with everything, and just knew I loved to do it and just kept at it with me. But yeah, no, it was just me in that respect. So.
You say your mom was an encouraging figure. I mean, was there a specific moment in your life that you recall where she maybe gave you like a few words of encouragement that just kind of stuck with you or made you believe in yourself a little bit more that, hey, like this is something I want to pursue and do?
Um, she's never been vocal like that, but I remember her telling me, when it was talent show time or something, she would look at me and she would go, "You don't have to do this. If you want to do this, we're here for you. We'll sign you up. We'll get you going, but you don't have to." So it was encouragement, but not being forced. It wasn't like, well, there's a talent show. This is what we have to do. You have to sign up. It was always just, she was at every show. She was at every event. She was at every chorus concert. And and I didn't even really appreciate it, I guess, so much at the time. But now that I look back, and being a mother myself, knowing that she was there every single step of the way, that meant a lot, even back then. And I didn't know it quite so much as I do now. But
I had a similar experience in my life. Like, I don't come from a musical family at all, but both my parents were always extremely encouraging of the fact that I loved music. And like you said, like they would be at everything, any crazy thought I had, pertaining to music, they supported and still do. My mom's probably watching this now. Hey, mom.
yeah,
So, yeah, it's very fortunate to have that on our side because not everybody does.
absolutely. Yeah.
So you've had two studio albums released. One was titled Full Moon and the other one was Lust. How would you say your music had evolved from one album to the other?
Drastically. So Full Moon I actually wrote when I was in college at SUNY Geneseo, and I was being classically trained at the time. So it definitely has more of a classical influence to it. And it was a lot of my early poetry that I kind of adapted into song. So it's a little bit more poetic, I guess, in that sense. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but it's a little bit, based off poetry. So it definitely has a different sound to it. It's very mellow. And then Lust and Love, definitely took a turn. And you can probably guess from the title, there's a lot of lust and love stuff on there. But I've always been kind of like I'm a pop junkie, self-admitted.
Me
Um,
too.
yeah, I love the bass, I love the drums. So I was super, super, super fortunate to work with John Bellick on this album. And he really made it more of like the sound I was looking for. but I could even go like Evanescence style. I don't know. I just so this, they're both very representative of where I was musically at the time. When it was full moon, I was definitely in that classical realm, and that was like what came through on the album. And then Lust and Love, I was definitely more in like the pop bands and full bands, and that definitely came through more on the second album as well.
It's funny that you bring up Evanescence because I definitely hear that quality in the tone of your voice and in some songs, like the song you just sung for us. I could hear a little bit of that. I mean, what's on your playlist? Like, what has influenced you over time?
Oh man. I appreciate all good music. I try to listen to different stuff because I don't want to get pigeonholed. But I tend to go back to, classic singers in my day, like Aretha Franklin, and I grew up on Whitney Houston and Christina Aguilera. I just appreciate, anybody who has really good vocal. But I kind of listen to pop stuff. Like Dua Lipa, I've been really digging lately.
Oh my
I
God, don't get me started. I'm so obsessed with her. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I definitely I like listening to pop too because I kind of like to be in the know. If my kid comes to me and they're like, "Oh, have you heard of this person?" I can say, "Well, of course I've heard of this person. They sing this." Or and performing with like the Silver Arrow Band, they do a lot more modern tunes. So I like to have a knowledge of what's happening now, and not getting stuck kind of too much in like 50s rock or 60s rock or 80s hair bands or.
Sure. I feel that way. The kids I teach, I feel like they keep me hip, these days. They keep me in touch with what's up now. So it's good. Kids,
Good.
yeah, definitely. So we were talking before we were actually live, just about COVID-19 and how it's right. I saw you. My both of our very last gigs were with each other. So this was March 16th or 15th. I think it was the 15th. Anyhow, we didn't know what was about to happen, and we just hear that things might be getting shut down. And then the next day at 8 o'clock, it was. The obviously this has tremendously impacted the entertainment industry and people that are working full time musically, like us. What positives were you able to draw throughout this experience?
Yeah, really funny because I'd actually like to hear that interview again because I think I was blowing it off at the time. I'm like, yeah, it won't be a thing. But
Yeah.
in hindsight, it's really made me reevaluate, what I want to do with my career, and if this is something I want to continue to pursue. So it's really given me time to take a step back because, I'm booking two bands and I'm working every weekend and I'm always gone, doing music stuff. So it's really given me the opportunity to kind of just take a step back and kind of refocus and go, well, okay, what do I really want to do? And that for me has been really beneficial because that's time that my brain would normally just be going and busy doing other stuff. So it's given me the opportunity to do that. And then also to kind of, just see also where other people are coming from, the perspective that, people are really missing live music. They're missing entertainment. They're missing what we do as musicians. And that's very flattering. And that's been great too because you find those people who really just love your craft and love everything that you do.
That's such a great point too, and that's something that I'm noticing too as I get back to performing out. Like I probably played 5 or 6 gigs since things started opening up again, and I noticed there's definitely a change in attitude among the listeners and the audience. Like whereas I mean, at least this is for in my experience. In the past, like I was always used to being background noise, and that was just kind of the role I accepted for bars and restaurants, in some most cases, for me at least. But lately, like any show I've gotten, I really feel like I almost have people's full on attention, and that feels weird. I mean, you have a different scenario than me because you play a lot more with a band, so people are up and grooving and stuff. But yeah, it's a nice change, and I think people really do appreciate the fact that music is welcome back into our life and our scene, and we have something really special here in Rochester. So maybe it was a good thing.
I think they
I,
realize maybe they appreciate it more now too, that it wasn't there, that they go, wow, maybe we took for granted this live music, and
Mhm.
maybe we shouldn't have treated them like wallpaper. Although I've been wallpaper plenty of times, and it is what happens in restaurants, and sometimes you go in with that expectation. But even, just somebody coming up to the end and saying, hey, we weren't all clapping because we were eating and whatever, but you guys did a really great job. Like that means a lot. But
Oh,
I
of
think people
course, yeah.
are a little bit more attentive now just because of circumstance. So
Yeah, absolutely. So today's theme is encouragement, and I want your opinion. So, how, as a whole, do you believe we can better encourage those around us to bring out the best of themselves and to bring out the best in our community?
you know, I I find the older I get and the more people I've worked with, the people that stick around are those people that are encouraging. Those people, when you have a new singer come on stage and they're nervous, and you can tell they're nervous, and they're just, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And just somebody saying, hey, you got this. You can do this. You wouldn't be here if you couldn't do this. Just that backing people up. People are amazing in whatever they choose to do, and especially if it's something that you love to do. And I think just having that encouragement from your peers is a huge deal. Just realizing that you're having an opportunity to spend time with these people or play with these people. Or, like I said, somebody at the restaurant just coming up and saying, hey, we appreciate what you're doing. That gives that artist, or, whomever is working or doing whatever they're doing, it gives them just that much more encouragement of like, okay, I got this. I can do this. I'm having a good time, and people are appreciating what I'm doing, because that makes all the difference. I could sing all day and I'm having fun, but it's that little bit that somebody just goes out of their way maybe to say, hey, you sounded great on that song, or, hey, we were listening and it was great. And I think if we can do that for, the other people around us and boost each other up instead of tearing each other down, I think that would make a big difference, because I know there's so much politics, and there's so much people taking sides, that just to take a moment and tell people what you appreciate about them, and to tell them that what they're doing is great. And I think that's gonna encourage people to keep doing what they love to do.
That sounds pretty spot on to me. I think you got this goes a long way. Like writing for this episode today made me think a lot about timing. Like I think about times where I was completely discouraged and I've showed up to a show, like I show up for work, and you have to set all those feelings aside and, put a happy face on and be a rock star in that moment, even though inside you might feel like you're crumbling. And, some simple words of encouragement could really just take you out of that place and remind you of who you are, and that what you're doing has purpose and meaningful, and that you mean something, and it's, if you catch people at the right time, it means everything, and it could change everything for them. Amanda, where can our audience be directed to your music and hear more from you and learn more about you?
So the best place probably is my website. It's www.amandastone.rocks. I kind of keep up with all the bands. So, if I'm performing with Blonde Over Blue or Amanda Stone and the BBE, all my different bands are on there. It's got, connections to my albums and things like that. But I'm on, Spotify and iTunes and everything like that as well. And I'm hoping to be all over Rochester again. I usually say I'm all over Rochester, but I'm not so much right now. But we'll get back out there. But I just want to say, like what you said too, that's one of the difficult things about this, is when what you love to do becomes a job. Because there are days I'd rather be home on my couch under my blanket with my kiddo than going to work. At that point, it becomes work. And that's when you need it the most. That's when somebody coming up and going, hey, so glad you guys are here tonight. We've been looking forward to this all week. It goes so far.
It
It
really
really.
does. It changes like it changes your whole mindset, and yeah. I know it's saved me a bunch of times and from random strangers, and yeah, I could recollect like those moments, very well. And yeah, we're fortunate that we do what we love, and I really hope, I know you right now is an unsure time, and you were saying that you're not sure if this is something you want to pursue, but don't ever stop, Amanda. You're too too talented and you have too much good to share with the world. You know, right now is a easy time to like be unsure about a lot of things, but you know, I think you're a sure act for sure. That's a lot of sure's.
I don't think I can stop. I tried when Ella was born, and after about 6 months I was going crazy. So it's a part of me. It's gonna happen in one form or another. So but
Definitely. Awesome. Well, Amanda, I appreciate you so much. We're gonna hear more. We're gonna hear one more original song from Amanda towards the end of the program. Before I introduce my good friend Ms. Casey Smith of Girls Rock Rochester, I want to throw a shout out to our awesome Afternoon Cocktail Season 2 sponsors. So we have electronic merchant systems for those who are in need of accepting credit cards. If you need any assistance, make sure you see my friends, the charge card guys. Also, Untamed Events, MissRebeccaDodge.com. She'll help you with all your party planning needed and any party planning messes at the moment. Jewish Senior Life. Hello to my residents. I hope you guys are doing good and enjoying the beautiful day. Get your pizza from Salvatore's this week if you are hungry for pizza. And the Sawmill at Blades. Thank you guys for your support as well. They're located on University Avenue. They got a full bar, full menu, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you could find that at bladesrock.com. Casey Smith. Hello, my friend.
Hi, how are you?
I'm awesome. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's wild seeing you through the
Virtual.
phone. Yeah, because the last time I saw you was actually in the Girls Rock office, and this is my first time being back in here since quarantine. So,
Oh, wow.
exciting. Yeah.
I didn't was the space closed off?
Yeah, the village gate was closed pretty much, and we couldn't really access the space. So it's starting to open up now that malls are opening. So I'm back in here. There's really no one around, but yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'm sure it feels really good to be back. So, Casey, tell us a little bit about, tell our audience a little bit about you, your background, and Girls Rock.
Okay, so my background outside of Girls Rock Land, I am a ESOL teacher, so I teach English to speakers of other languages, and I work mostly with kindergarten through second grade. And before that, I was actually an art teacher. And I started playing music when I was 10 in school. So I started in school band in percussion. I did drumline in high school. I was really big on like the marching snare. It's like very important to me. And then my senior year of high school, I had to choose between art classes and music classes. And because I was pursuing art education as a career, I had to let music go, which was really difficult. But my mom, who is the greatest, she bought me a drum set when I was 16, and I started an all-girl band in high school for my senior year. And then I didn't play music for a really long time when I was in college. And then I heard about the Girls Rock Camp out in Portland, Oregon, the first one, and I was blown away by it and really wanted to do it. So when I graduated from Alfred, I actually went down to New York City and volunteered for the first time for Willie Mae Rock Camp for Girls back in 2007.
Very cool. And I read that well, it's funny that you say about drums and art and music because that was kind of similar for me. Like I would skip my lunch periods in high school. I was like, I don't need lunch. I need music more than I need lunch, or art more than I need lunch, you know. So in order to do the both, I had to like, you know, throw out my lunch.
It's such a weird thing too, because when I was growing up, my dad passed when I was 12. And my brother used to be like a varsity swimmer, right? So he would have these swim meets after school, but my mom would like work nights. So I would have to stay after school. And the one teacher that would let me stay was the band teacher. And I used to like camp out in the band like room. It's probably like not very legal, but I would like camp out there and play percussion until my brother's swim meet at like 6 o'clock. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So definitely did that.
I also read a little bit about you that for music when you were in school you had picked another instrument and then the teacher was like, no, here's a clarinet, play this, you know, and you were like, I don't want to play this, so that you purposely like flunked out on whatever testing you need.
Yeah. So I Yeah, she gave me the clarinet, and I just like purposely like messed up my embouchure so it wouldn't sound right. And she just couldn't understand because I played the saxophone and it was fine, but I really wanted percussion so badly because I wanted an instrument that I could play in a band with. Because as a kid, I was like really obsessed with like Madonna and Cyndi Lauper and the Beatles, of course, and the Kinks because of my mom.
So your mom is definitely like your encouraging figure, it seems like, from since you were very little, and you guys are obviously very close now. So was there, I mean, encouragement, like as Amanda and I were just speaking about, I mean, encouragement can really build up a person when they need it the most. Was there a time more recently where somebody that wasn't your mom, or maybe it was your mom, that you got some encouraging words that just impacted your decision to move forward?
Yeah, I would say I'm a big fan of therapy, and I have a really great therapist that I've been seeing for about 3 years now. And prior to that, when I didn't have health insurance, I used to go to the St. Joseph's Neighborhood Center in Rochester. And it's like sliding scale there. So I think therapy is really great, especially for people who struggle with things like anxiety and depression and have a hard time like pushing themselves forward. That has been very helpful for me, I would say, because like sometimes I'm so afraid to do something, and then I like have a therapy session, and then I'm feeling way more self-empowerment because of the encouragement I've received.
That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, therapy is there for a reason, right? Fortunately, like music's been my therapy, but yeah, it's good and a great resource to have, even if you have music as well. So Girls Rock is entering its eighth year. Is that right? Am I off a year?
Yeah, you're off a year. It's our ninth camp season, so pretty excited.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Like I
You
don't know.
stayed with
I
us
can't
for
believe
8 years,
I've
which
been
is
with you. Okay.
wild. Yeah.
It is wild. I know. I was like, yeah, these 8 years, I mean, so much has happened. Um, all right. Well, it's entering its eighth year of encouraging young girls to nurture their creativity. This is the one thing. So I've been involved with Girls Rock, and this obviously is, I mean, I tell you this all the time, and I know other volunteers are telling you this too, but it's definitely really changed my perspective on children. It inspired me to teach. It's really given me so much. And the one thing I just adore about this program is that it just really teaches girls to embrace their individuality and to embrace their creative side and to encourage creativity, even if they maybe never picked up an instrument once in their life. It's amazing. In what ways has Girls Rock encouraged you?
Yeah, so I was thinking about that after I saw the question because I was like, how has it encouraged me? Well, actually, it got me to play music again because prior to doing Willie Mae in 2007, I hadn't really like touched my drums for like 4 or 5 years. So that was huge. Like I was actually starting to play again. And I was like so afraid going to New York. I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not talented enough. I'm not qualified to teach music, even though I was an art teacher at the time and have been like, went to school to become a teacher. And I was really intimidated by it, but being there and around all these really wonderful people who kind of like encouraged and pushed me to be um, a drum teacher, right? Like I got to work with Mindy Abovitz from Tom Tom Magazine. Like that was my co-instructor in New York. Like I was
So
like
cool.
totally like starstruck, but it was really awesome to be able to work with people who looked like me, who were playing music too, and were like really excited about the possibilities.
How would you say, I mean, it's affected, I mean, all these 9 years, like how has it affected your personal growth?
My personal growth, I would say, sometimes it's tough. Like you're not always like everyone's favorite person, right? Like there's sometimes tough decisions that have to be made, or things happen and people's feelings get hurt, and that can be like pretty hard and tough to like overcome that. But I would say like a lot of the parents and the volunteers of the camp have been super supportive and encouraging, and that's helped me like to keep pushing forward. So I would say as myself, like it's really encouraged me to try things even if I'm afraid to do it, right? Like I hate public speaking, but I'll like get up there and showcase and do it. So
Yeah. It's so funny. Like most of the people that I've been talking to, like a lot of people on that I've had as guests on this show, like public speaking is like the one thing that they've feared or have overcome. And I feel the same way. Like
yeah.
that's actually a big reason why I'm doing this show too, like to overcome that. But yeah, you never none of you people ever come across this way. Cause like when I first met you, I was like, you come off as very extroverted, in that setting. And I'm like, wow, like I wish I could be that. So cool. But
Yeah, it's funny for people to see me at camp versus like my day to day, because at camp I'm like this big ball of energy, but in my day to day I'm like very subdued.
yeah, it's funny. Well, certain things bring certain sides out of you, and that's great that, the one thing working with children, and I feel this way being a mom, like it kind of brings you back to being a kid again in some ways. And it's fun to tap into like, oh yeah, like this is who I was as a kid and this is who I still am now. But so let's talk about the program. So could you tell our audience a little bit about what we did in the program in the past and then how that's all changing and adapting to COVID-19?
Yeah, so the Girls Rock Camp program, usually kids come to camp. We have about 50 or 60 kids, and they learn an instrument. So they have instrument instruction, and then they go to all sorts of workshops on like self-esteem or media literacy or like, I don't know, history of women in rock and women in music. And then they form a band, which is like the most magical time. And they get to like work with other kids and create a song to play at a showcase. And in the past few years, we've been doing them at Anthology, which was just like awesome because you see these like 8-year-olds.
So much fun.
Yeah. And yeah, so with COVID-19, it was kind of a bummer. Like we were watching it like as a board and staff of the camp, and we were like mid-May, like, yeah, this is probably not a safe venture for us this summer. So I started actually going to these like meetups with the Girls Rock Camp Alliance and talking with other program directors, and a lot of people started shifting their programming online. So we are going to be doing a different kind of camp called Rock Studio, and it's going to be all digital and online. So this is our first time doing it, and it's, yeah, talk about encouragement. Like I have to constantly be like, you can all do it. You can all get on this like program and learn how to mix music. And it's funny because a lot of the volunteers have never done it before and they're starting to get really into it.
Yeah, I know, like for me, like experimenting with it. At first, I was like, oh, I don't know, like if I'm going to be able to do this well, but it's definitely fun to experiment with. And, I think the positive coming out of this is it brings out like a different side of you. Like, so now, like for me, like creating the songs that I normally create, like now it's making me create like an EDM song or experimenting in a different genre that I would probably never have done in my life, I mean, that's not necessarily true, but it's cool. It's inspiring you to look at different genres and to try something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for like the kids too, what'll be awesome is like a lot of them, I know when I was growing up in high school, like when I had my drum set, I was like, wow, I can't play, like how am I going to start a band by myself? But like kids who are like writing lyrics, like they could write a whole song and not even have to have an instrument. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Really cool. I mean, your program also, I mean, like within the past 2 years, has expanded to the LGBTQ youth community as well. What inspired you to make this decision and to make that move, and what positive support have you received and result?
Yeah, so actually, when we first started in 2012, we were a camp for girls, trans, and non-binary youth. So that's always been like from the beginning part of our mission. And what was happening was that we had a camper who was more trans masculine, who started to feel like they didn't belong in the Girls Rock space. So even though we were like, no, we are trans and binary, non-binary, inclusive, like come to our camp, they were like, you're like, your name is Girls Rock, everything is Girls Rock. And like the camper, you know, kept coming and eventually graduated from our programming. And it always kind of like put a pit in my stomach, like, this kiddo doesn't feel safe in our space, right? And so I started to think with some of our board members at the time, like, how can we make our space like still there for these kids who are questioning their gender? And I looked at a lot of the queer rock camps out on the West Coast. There was one, I think, near Portland, Olympia. There was one in Olympia and one near Seattle. And a lot of them, it was like tricky because they were like separate from their Girls Rock camps. And I'm like, well, we've always been like trans and non-binary inclusive. Like, what if we just like did a second week for these kids who identify more as trans masculine or non-binary that don't feel comfortable going to a camp called Girls Rock? And so that was kind of the catalyst. And the first year we had 20 kids sign up, which was pretty awesome. And a lot of them had never been to our camp programs before. And yeah, I think that was huge. And also like that camper that I mentioned, who used to be a Girls Rock camper, their last year of camp, like I was like running around frantic because I always am at camp, but I was like running down the stairs because like my mom, her bus from her day program was like coming to the house and like somebody missed getting her. So then I was like, oh gosh. So I'm like running down the stairs, trying to like run home to my mom, also do closing assembly. And the mother of this child like came up to me like in the stairwell while I'm like, and handed me a painting that she made of a golden heart and was just like, you have done so much for my child.
Aww.
Like, you have no idea, like you saved my kid's life. And so like that painting hangs in my house because it just reminds me, like, I want to cry. It reminds me of like how powerful music can be and how like when you do encourage, especially youth, like they can go on and do such incredible things. And like this kid, like, even though they didn't like directly tell me like, you should start this like Pride Rock camp, like they encouraged us to do it.
So I got a question about like the trans mass, like those that are, so you said it's still, obviously Girls Rock is still open to those that are in transition. If they do go trans mass, does that still make them eligible for Girls Rock?
Yeah, so that's always, it's up to the camper to self-select
Okay.
which program that they feel most comfortable in. And I think that's our biggest thing is like, we're not going to tell you which program you belong in. It's up to how you feel, but they're welcome
Gotcha.
to either program.
Gotcha. Cool. Casey, thank you so much. Could you, so you guys are always accepting donations. You have a fundraiser coming up, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna have like a telethon, which is kind of exciting because we're not able to have our typical showcase. So that is on Facebook. You can check it out, and it's going to be like a live streaming of different performers. And you're actually performing in it, and I think I'm going to be performing in it.
Yay. Is Tide Pod going to be performing in it?
iPad is not, but Richard Snare
Oh.
is. Yeah.
Ah,
No,
okay, cool.
yeah, I don't want to put face paint on again. Yeah, so it'll be great, and it hopefully will raise the money because like as a nonprofit, especially with like everything going on with COVID, we haven't been able to do the typical fundraisers that we do in the spring. And so we've definitely taken a hit financially because, you know, just like everybody because of the virus.
Yeah. Well, you guys, I can't tell you enough like how much this program has like done so much for my heart. And Casey, like I'm always here to support as best as I can. If you guys are willing to donate and are interested in donating, make sure you go to Girls Rock's website, which is Casey.
It's girlsrockrochester.org.
Thank you. So girlsrockrochester.org. Make sure you check it out. And it's a great program. The ages are from 8 to 16 for young ladies if they're interested. And yeah, definitely get your kid in there. Casey, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh my God, I admire so much for all that you do,
Can
and
I
I think
tell
you're
a funny
amazing.
Can I tell you a little funny story? So the first time
Please.
I met you was at our like volunteer thing. You came, and I was so intimidated by you. I was like, oh my gosh, she is so cool. She is not going to like us. She is not going to volunteer. And then
What?
here you are, like 8 years later. Like I was so intimidated, and you're
Oh
like
my
so
God.
awesome.
That's so funny. Well, yeah, I don't know how to even respond to that, but yeah, I love this program from like day one. I think it's just amazing what you do, and it's so good for the kids and the turnaround in the end, like with how the confidence booster it is for each of them. It's really incredible to witness, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. So thank you,
Yeah,
Amanda. You ready to rock out one more?
All right, I'm getting this mute button thing down here.
You you got it. You got this.
Yes, that's right. Encouragement. I love it. Yeah, so I'll end. This is a song off the Lust and Love album. It's called "Shame on You," and if you listen to the words, it's pretty self-explanatory. So. I gave you a piece of my soul that I can't get back. You happily took it without a second glance, but you only get one chance at my love. Won't you push me away, baby? I'm gone. You told me for not protecting my heart. Shame on me for falling so hard.
The incredibly powerful music of Miss Amanda Stone. AmandaStone.rocks, R-O-C, right?
R-O-C-K-S, rocks.
Oh, R-O-C-K-S. I wasn't sure it was just for rock. All right, Amanda. Well, Amanda, you do rock. Thank you so much for sharing your music with us today. And a big thank you again to Casey Smith of Girls Rock Rochester for being on our show as well. Before I leave you all off, I just want to leave you with some words. Today's theme was encouragement. And encouragement to me is like that little life raft that's there for you just when you're sinking. None of us can get through life without a little bit of encouragement, especially when that encouragement comes from the lips of somebody we admire or respect. Whether it be a parent, whether it be your best friend, your school teacher, your mentor, your counselor, a spiritual leader, having that support and verbal blessing of another, it could mean everything. Everything in that moment for that someone who feels as if they're just fading. Never underestimate the power of words. Those few well-chosen, well-timed, sincere words of praise, of love, support, and belief can be enough to change the entire course for someone. Encouragement validates, it motivates us to work harder towards pursuing what is important to us. When someone gives you encouragement, you are given the courage to do something important. You're made stronger. You're made to believe that your time and your place on this planet is worth something. Encouragement is a confidence booster that motivates us to push beyond all limitations and to go that extra mile. Everybody wins when we encourage one another, so be generous in your encouragement. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Thank you again to Casey Smith, Amanda Stone, Bo Productions for always setting us up and making us look good here at Afternoon Cocktail. And to our sponsors, Compere Rochester, the Jewish Senior Life, Jewish Home of Rochester, Salvatore's Pizzeria, RebeccaDodge.com, Untamed Events, also Electronic Merchant Systems. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you back here with a brand new show this Friday. You guys have an awesome day. Bye.